What's up, guys? Welcome back to Right Side. Today, I want to talk about a political issue so serious and ominous that most people ignore it completely: the national debt. The national debt, to me, is not just an issue, but a ticking time bomb. It's a situation where if you don't laugh, you cry. Now, it's not uncommon for countries to have a national debt. However, the United States has surpassed some major negative milestones when it comes to racking up the nation's credit card. Just in 2013, the national debt exceeded GDP for the first time, over 100%. Now, it's 123. We have normalized spending money we don't have, and everyone talks a big game of making hard decisions and tough cuts. As a member of the next generation, this situation with the national debt infuriates me. My generation and the generations after us are going to have to deal with the economic hot potato of the United States government defaulting on its debt because of the fiscal irresponsibility of the generations before us. I can already hear people arguing that a substantial chunk of the debt was spent on wars that we need to go into, like spending $8 trillion in Afghanistan over 20 years. So in order to satiate the hawks, I'll go ahead and admit that foreign investment is sometimes necessary. However, we haven't gone into debt from foreign intervention to the tune of $33 trillion. We haven't had a balanced budget since Clinton, and every year it gets worse. In some ways, our fiscal irresponsibility is emblematic of human nature. We all want six-pack abs without having to do the work exercising. When it comes to federal spending, we can. We can cut checks and give healthcare to seniors and the poor without needing to pay for it now. It's sickening the way the left holds the needy and the less capable hostage for emotional manipulation. We can't even mention the words Social Security, or Medicare, or Medicaid, without immediately bowing down and worshiping these social programs. After all, it's obvious that by merely suggesting reforms to these programs, I want those recipients to be sent to the gulags. If a spouse used the same type of manipulative rhetoric people use when defending social programs, when arguing with their partner, we consider that emotional abuse. This is exactly the danger of such an expansive welfare state to begin with. These programs start with the hopeful aspirations of helping seniors and the needy, but they quickly become tools of emotional manipulation against accountability or decentralization. The worst part about this manipulative defense tactic is that it enables the growth of the administrative state into these already comprehensive social programs. The contentment with these social programs allows the unelected bureaucratic rot to form. Now, I'm about to upset a lot of people from saying this, so hold on to your seat. But Social Security as we know it, Medicaid, and Medicare are not sustainable and need to be decreased. And yes, I will make a separate video on Social Security. I can already hear some of you yelling out there about the bloated military budget, and I actually agree. The lack of accountability in military spending enables the military to spend thousands of dollars on simple screwdrivers from military contractors. The truth is, I'm sick and tired of these bloated social programs being treated like sacred cows. Unless we are okay with dumping the effects of the national debt on the younger generation and igniting an inevitable violent revolution, we need to decentralize seriously. We are a country too large and too multicultural to have as expensive of a set of entitlement and social programs as we currently do. For better or worse, the United States is a multicultural society. This multiculturalism makes it harder for blanket programs at a federal level. The programs that make up nearly half the federal budget are programs that work well in smaller countries like Scandinavia, where the population is a fraction of the United States and much more homogenous and less multicultural. Education, for example, is and always has been a state issue. Thus, the Department of Education should be abolished and returned to its rightful place in state custody. Let states make decisions about their own education. I'd rather have a United States where state income tax has a more prominent stake. This is not just a theoretical problem. It's a real burden that we, the younger generation, will have to bear. The effect that the national debt has on budget negotiations is akin to how we talk about nuclear war. Countries are much more comfortable sending ground troops and escalating because they know the other side isn't stupid enough to hit the big red button and end it for everyone. The same thing happens with the national debt. Politicians will milk budget talks until the last few hours before giving in to the other side's demands because no one wants to be the guy that causes the country to default. The fact is, no one cares. No one cares about fiscally responsible budgets. At this point, it would be considered a victory if the budget was frozen for a year. We are all addicted to taking from each other's pockets. What no one takes into consideration is that every budget deficit we pass in Congress isn't hitting the current society outside of inflation. It's going to be a nuclear bomb to the next generation. I know I probably sound like a crazy person ranting about the ominous doom of not paying our debt, But as a Zoomer and someone who had to navigate this country with a family to provide for, God willing, I understand that it's not my grandparents who are worrying about the United States defaulting. It may not even be Gen X. I would be very surprised if we managed to keep drinking in order to stave off the hangover long enough to outlast my generation. Quite frankly, I would not be surprised if my generation developed a disdain for the older generations for contributing to the economic hangover that is yet to ensue. We have been so scared to tell certain people that we can't afford to pay for their lifestyles that we let ourselves swipe the card and rack up over $33 trillion. To put that into perspective the best I can, if the United States debt was equally divided by the US population, you, the person watching this video, would owe $104,000. The funny part is that everyone else in the world is in on it too. If we go down, everyone else goes with us. If the United States defaulted on its debt, it would trigger a global economic nuclear winter that would make the Great Depression look like a bad market day. The reason why I know other countries are starting to take this a little bit more seriously is how many other countries are replacing US dollar as their reserve currency. Even they know we're done for. If each dollar of the US national debt were equivalent to one day, the total debt of approximately $32 trillion would represent 87.6 billion years. This is over 6 times longer than the entire age of the universe, which is estimated to be around 13.8 billion years. If each dollar in the United States national debt were equivalent to 1 hour, the total debt of approximately 32 trillion would represent about 3.65 billion years. This is longer than the entire history of life on Earth, which is estimated to be around 3.5 billion years. If each dollar of the US national debt was equivalent to 1 minute, the total debt of approximately 32 trillion would represent about If each dollar of the US national debt were equivalent to 1 minute, the total debt of approximately $32 trillion would represent about 60.8 million years. This is almost as long as the dinosaurs have been extinct. And if each dollar of the US national debt were equivalent to 1 second, the total debt of approximately 32 trillion would represent about 1.01 million years. That's over 3 times longer than modern humans have been on this planet, who have existed for over 300,000 years. It's incredible to me that we, as a society, are so apathetic about this issue. Politicians know we don't really care because we can't really comprehend the sheer size of the debt. We all live in a house of cards the size of Mount Everest. We have one of 2 options. Either continue drinking to delay the hangover until we kill ourselves, or make a lot of people really upset by cutting or outright eliminating programs in the budget, including touching Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I hear a lot from Trump about selling off our oil and natural gas, and while I completely agree with drill baby drill and decrease in the cost of energy for families in the supply chain, I'm not sure if that would be enough to solve the problem. If it is, I'll be happy to return and acknowledge being wrong. So I guess in a sense, this video is more so meant to give everyone a heads up on Gen Z's resentment towards the older generations and the upcoming backlash against the political establishment. I've told people this before. Historically, revolutions occur after failed leadership, civil war, or an economic catastrophe. Right now, the atmosphere in the United States is prime for a civil war, and there's not much that can happen in November to change that. If that doesn't happen first, a default on the debt will. To me, in my eyes, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Hell, there's no realistic chance we do it now. In the end, for many of the older generations, the national debt is a political issue they have lived with their entire lives, but have not entertained the practical likelihood of future ramifications. In the moment, you don't consider the future downstream effects of eating unhealthily and not taking care of your body until you are older and you start breaking down at a younger age than others. Right now, we are at the older stage of our lives, and the fiscal irresponsibilities of the generations before us are coming home to roost. Unlike being old, however, we have the ability to make last-minute fiscal decisions to put us back on track before it is too late. We don't have to bite the bullet and surrender to the default. If we are willing to make the hard decisions, we can avoid the economic nuclear meltdown. So my question to you is, are you ready to tighten the belt and have some tough conversations? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. If you'd like to support and help the channel grow, please subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with all my uploads. Finally, whether you agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I look forward to engaging you guys in respectful and thoughtful discussions. With that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.